Welcome to Talking Comics. I'm Per, and I'm with my friend Paul. How you doing, Paul?
Oh, I'm doing good. How are you?
Great. I see you got a T-shirt on. What is that?
Oh, it's a Superman t-shirt. And speaking of Superman, look at that comic.
All right, so that's Action Comics #1, the most expensive comic in history. Uh, Tell us a little bit about it, Paul.
Okay, so this is, the original superhero. His first appearance is cool that he's on the cover. It does have a great cover. One of the greatest covers ever, I kind of think. Very iconic. Super old, 1938. Not too many other comic book heroes around at that time. There were people like Sheena, the Clock, Doctor Occult, but none of them were actually superheroes necessarily. And so here comes Superman. He's the first superhero, and he's just grabbing a 1938 coupe and just smashing it into a hillside, like Superman does.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome cover. The font where it says Action Comics is awesome. It's got the 10 cents that looks real good. I think like one of these, a high grade of this goes for like $3.5 million or something, right?
Right. Yeah. So I think a 9.0 sold for that much in 2014.
Yeah. So this 8.5 here is millions of dollars.
Yes. Yeah. I would assume so. Yes.
Right. And so Superman, he's the first. I mean, I think maybe Batman is the most popular superhero lately, but Superman started it all.
Certainly is well known. Like I think every kid, recognizes who Superman is.
I mean, he's had a lot of movies, right? Christopher Reeve had 4 of them, and he's probably had, I don't know, another 5 movies since, counting like Justice League and stuff.
And so what's interesting is Siegel and Schuster, the kids who created this, they actually created this for a newspaper strip. That's where the money was. So that's where artists and writers would aim for. They'd aim for the newspapers. They want to make the money, but none of the newspapers were interested in Superman. So DC came along. They had new management. The people from National Publishing had just taken control of the comic book company from Major Malcolm Wheeler Nelson. He was in debt, so he ended up selling. And so National Publications, who also used to make pulp magazines, they got into the business here, and they decided, you know what, we'll take a try with Superman. And so one of their earlier hits was, Superman. And I think that they were getting paid per page. And when I mean they, I mean Siegel and Schuster, the artist and the
Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster were the creators of Superman. I think they were very young men. I think they were Jewish, and I think they lived in New York City to just give.
No, they lived in Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
They lived in Cleveland. But yeah, so it's pretty interesting how, first off, that pulp guy should just fall into, basically DC Comics, just get control of it right when this is kind of, being peddled around. And the former owner, he wasn't interested in Superman for comics. He wasn't interested, and he had passed on it actually. So under new management, they got it right. They figured out this guy needs to, be in the comics. And it's interesting because it's not until later on before you see Superman appear on every cover. I think the next time you see him appear, he appears on Action 1. I think the next one is Action 7. And then I think you have to wait till 19, where now he appears on every single issue cover.
And I think this one is actually the comic strip. Like they just kind of chopped up the comic strip so it fit a comic book page.
And yeah, they weren't aiming for the comic book format. They were aiming for the strip. So they just cut. I mean, I was just thinking about that. Wouldn't that be cool to see that piece that they had made, that had been cut and glued together?
Yeah, I mean, the original artwork must be lost, or else it's worth millions and millions. Oh my goodness!
I'm guessing it ended up in a garbage can.
Right. And you kind of look at it; it kind of looks like, I could see that being like little sections of this being in the
Right.
newspaper, like probably basically all those panels, and then it ends with like the bottom left one that has a picture of Superman.
Yeah, that those top two panels totally looks like it transitions, that way. And the next bottom panels would follow that baby,
Yeah. And what's funny is like this comic, if you ever read, I don't know if Action 2 is a good story, but Action 1, that story holds up. It's like it's one of the best dialogue, whatever. Just every panel just has a really good writing to go with it. It's the art is obviously old school, but it's actually a very well written and fun to read little story.
I actually enjoy the art.
I mean, for the time, it's phenomenal.
I think so. I mean, and especially considering, I think when they had first come up with this, they were only like 17. I think they were not much older than that when they had sold it to DC.
And do we know if they became like super millionaires because of this, or?
No, we know quite the opposite. We know that they did not become millionaires. I think Neil Adams was a big help in it. So back when the Christopher Reeves movie was being made, Neil Adams convinced DC management to give them a pension. So for the first time, that'd be in 1978. They were given a pension, a lifelong pension. And it wasn't a ton of money, by the way. It really wasn't. It was like maybe.
So they got $10 a page in 1938, and then they got like some little pension.
Also known as no money at all.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a travesty. Of course, I'm sure they signed on some dotted line that said
they were very eager to get it published.
I mean, no one knew at the time that they were creating Superman. They would have done things differently.
Yeah.
Okay, so a few fun facts about this is he can't fly in this. You can see him leaping there. What do you think about that, Paul?
It's just interesting. It makes sense that over time his powers would change with, different writers and artists. But I think it's, to the original mythos, he doesn't fly.
I think it's like when this was created, they didn't really have what a superhero was down. Like, later on, every superhero could fly.
Right.
But
eventually you'll get a whole bunch of clones. In fact, Captain Marvel is a clone, basically, of Superman.
Captain Marvel, the male superhero, not Captain Marvel, the female superhero, just had a movie.
Good point. Yeah, the one that people call Shazam. Him. Yeah.
Shazam. Yeah, he was. Yeah, his movie. He had a movie recently, Shazam. He actually outsold Superman, I think, there for a bit, and then DC Comics sued them into the ground, saying he was a copyright infringement on Superman.
Right. And so they eventually disappeared. I think in Great Britain they somehow were reprinting them, and DC came along and bought them. 20 years later they bought them. So then they didn't have the publishing rights to Captain Marvel because Marvel had already come in and created their own Captain Marvel. So that was off the table. So that's why they have to call it Shazam.
Right.
That's under the DC ownership.
Okay, then I'm going to give a quick fun fact, and then I'm going to let you give the other one. So Nicolas Cage owned a copy of Action Comics 1 because he was a comic collector and obviously a very rich man, and it was stolen from him. And then in 2010, what happened?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. A family had to leave their home due to financial problems, and they found a copy of this, and they were able to sell it for $430,000 and buy their home.
Yeah, so a family was being evicted. They found a copy in the attic, and they got to keep the house.
Yeah, what a lucky day.
I wish I had one of these in my attic, boy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, okay, thanks for watching, everybody. Say bye-bye, Paul.
All right, bye, guys. And also, if you like this video, give us a thumb up, hit like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.